first time I saw Eli, he smiled like he had known my daughter forever. That day, Nia held his arm tightly, like she was scared he might disappear if she loosened her grip. She wore a new dress and shiny shoes that pinched her feet. I could tell because she kept shifting her weight. We were standing near the little cafe by the town square. The place was busy. People were everywhere. Families, students, shop workers, and a few neighbors I knew by face. Someone had music playing from a speaker. A man sold roasted corn. A group of children ran past, laughing. It was the kind of day that should have felt light, but my stomach felt heavy. Nia's eyes kept jumping from Eli to me, like she was waiting for me to do something wrong. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. I really wasn't. I just said softly, "Sweetheart, your dress strap is slipping. Fix it before it falls and take your sweater. The wind will get cold later." That was all. A normal mother thing. But Nia's face changed fast, like someone flipped a switch. Her cheeks tightened. Her mouth pulled into a hard line. She glanced at Eli. He didn't say anything, but his lips curled a little, like he was enjoying a joke. Nia took one step away from me, then another. I reached out, not to grab her, just to get her attention. "Nia, I'm only—" She cut me off. Her voice went sharp and loud, and the words hit the air like rocks thrown at glass. "Stop acting like you own me." People turned their heads. The music felt quieter. The sound of cups clinking at the cafe suddenly felt too clear. I froze, my hand still half raised. I tried to keep my voice calm. "I'm not trying to—" But she didn't let me finish. She lifted her chin and looked straight at me like she wanted the whole world to see she was not afraid of her own mother. Then she shouted the sentence that broke something inside my chest. "I wish you were never my mother." Loud enough for everyone to hear. For a second, time felt strange, like the world stopped but my heart kept falling. A woman near the cafe gasped. Someone else made a short, awkward laugh, like they didn't know what to do with the moment. A few people looked away quickly, pretending they hadn't heard, but they had. I could tell. I felt my face burn. I felt my throat tighten. My hands began to shake, and I pressed my fingers together hard, trying to hide it. My legs felt weak, like they might not hold me up. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say, "After everything I've done for you." I wanted to ask, "How can you say that?" But I didn't. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't plead for her to love me in front of strangers. I just stood there and took it, quiet, embarrassed, and shaking inside. Nia's eyes flicked to Eli again, as if waiting for him to clap for her. Eli gave a small smile and a slow nod, like she had performed well. That smile told me something, even if I couldn't name it yet. Nia turned away first, pulling Eli along with her. They walked like they had won something. My daughter didn't look back. I stayed where I was, staring at the space she left behind. A neighbor, Mrs. Hart, stood near a fruit stall. She didn't come close, but I saw her whispering to another woman. Their eyes landed on me, then slid away again. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I forced my feet to move. I walked to a bench near the square and sat down slowly like an old machine trying to work. I kept my back straight. I refused to cry in front of strangers. I stared at my hands in my lap and tried to breathe normally. In, out. In, out, out. My mind kept repeating her words, like they were written on the inside of my head. I wish you were never my mother. I remembered Nia at 6 years old, clinging to my skirt when thunder scared her. I remembered wiping her tears, packing her lunch, sitting by her bed when she had fevers. I remembered the way she used to call me her safe place. And now, I was something she wanted to erase. A minute passed, maybe 5, I don't know. The square kept moving around me like nothing had happened. People bought snacks. A child dropped a balloon and cried. Someone honked a horn. But my world felt cracked. I stood up again because sitting made me feel smaller. I told myself one simple thing. If I run after her in anger, Eli will win. If I chase her in tears, he will enjoy it. So I will stay calm. I will stay steady. I will not give my pain to strangers. I began walking home. Halfway down the street, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I almost didn't answer. My hands were still trembling. But I looked at the screen and saw a name I knew. Lena. She worked part-time at the little shop near the cafe. She was young, but she noticed everything. She had a sharp mind and kind eyes. I answered, my voice quiet. Hello? Lena spoke fast and her words came out in a rush. Mom, it's Nia. She's here. Something happened and people are making a scene. Please, come now. My heart squeezed. What happened? I asked, and trying to keep my voice steady. I can't explain everything on the phone, Lena said, but she looks scared and her boyfriend isn't helping. He just walked off. I didn't ask Lena to repeat it. I had heard enough. I turned around so quickly my bag swung against my hip. The wind felt colder now, just like I had warned Nia. I started walking back toward the square faster than my old knees liked. My chest hurt with each breath, but my feet didn't slow. Because no matter what my daughter had shouted, no matter how many people had heard it, if she was in trouble, I was still coming. When I reached the shop, I could already see a small crowd near the entrance, and I stepped forward without hesitation. When I reached the shop, I saw Nia standing near the door with her arms folded tight across her chest. She was not shouting now. She was not bold now. She looked small. A few people stood around her whispering. Lena was beside the counter, trying to calm everyone down. Eli was nowhere in sight. Nia saw me and looked away at once. That hurt almost as much as her words in the square. I walked closer, slow and steady, like my heart was not racing. What happened? I asked. Lena answered first. It's getting handled now, Mom. I just thought she should not be here alone. I nodded. I did not push, not in front of a crowd. Nia kept staring at the floor. There was something on the counter. A small shopping bag, a bottle of perfume, a bracelet, 2 little makeup items, things that looked too expensive for a quick stop at a small shop. A man near the door muttered, "These girls think they can just take things." Lena gave him a sharp look. No one said that." I turned to Nia. "Did you call me?" She swallowed hard. "No." Her voice was tiny. I could have said, "You didn't call me when you insulted me either." I could have said, "Go find your boyfriend." I could have said many things, but pain does not always need words. Sometimes it sits inside you and watches. So I only asked, "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. I looked at Lena again. Lena gave me a small signal with her eyes, like she was saying, "Not here. Not now." I understood. I touched Nia's arm very lightly. "Come with me." For 1 second, she did not move. Then she picked up her bag and followed me out. We walked in silence. The street was quieter now. The evening sun had changed colour. The air felt cooler. I noticed that Nia had no sweater, just as I had warned. Her bare arms had goosebumps on them. I wanted to put my shawl on her shoulders. I did not. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I knew this was not just about cold weather anymore. Something deeper had changed between us, and I could feel it. By the time we reached home, my chest had stopped pounding, but the ache inside it was still there. I opened the door and let her step in first. Our house was small, clean, and full of old things that carried memories. The family photo on the wall. The wooden table with the scratch Nia made when she was 10 and trying to cut cardboard. The blue curtain she once said looked like the sky. This house had held our laughter for years. That evening, it held only silence. Nia stood by the table and dropped her bag onto a chair. She looked tired. Angry too. But under the anger I saw fear. I set my own bag down and faced her. Now tell me the truth. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she laughed once, but there was no joy in it. The truth, she said. You want the truth now? Yes. She pressed her lips together. The truth is, you always make me look small. That was not what I expected. I frowned. By telling you your dress strap was falling. It's not just that, she snapped. Then her voice dropped again. It's everything. The way you correct me. The way you watch me. The way you talk like I'm still a child. I sat down slowly because I knew if I stayed standing, this might turn into a fight. Nia, I said, there is a difference between caring for someone and controlling them. She gave me a bitter smile. That's easy for you to say. I studied her face. This was not my daughter speaking from her heart alone. These words felt borrowed, repeated, like seeds someone else had planted and watered. I said nothing for a few seconds. Then I asked, how long have you been unhappy with me? She opened her mouth, but no answer came. That silence told me more than her anger. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her the way I used to when she was little and hiding sweets behind her back. I know this didn't start today, I said softly. So tell me when it started. She turned away and walked to the window. A bus passed outside. Somewhere a dog barked. The world kept moving even while mine waited for her answer. Finally, she said, things were better before you started judging everything. I almost asked, before what? But I already knew, before Eli. That was the line between old Nia and this new, sharp, restless girl standing in my house. Before Eli, Nia had changed slowly, like a room getting dark 1 minute at a time. At first, I barely noticed it. She still laughed with me in the kitchen. She still asked me if the rice needed more salt. She still left her shoes in the wrong place and forgot to close the sugar jar. Then Eli came. The first day she brought him home. He wore a clean shirt, shiny shoes, and a smile so neat it looked practiced. He called me Mom 3 times in 10 minutes. He offered to carry groceries, even though there was only 1 light bag in my hand. A polite boy, I thought. Maybe too polite. Nia was glowing that day. Her eyes were bright. She kept touching her hair. She wanted me to like him, and I tried to. We sat at the table and drank tea, and Eli looked around the house carefully, though he tried to make it seem casual. This place has character, he said. It sounded like praise, but something about it made me uncomfortable, like he was not seeing our home, like he was measuring it. Nia laughed and said, "That's a nice way of saying it's old." Eli smiled at her, then at me. Old things can still be useful. I remember that sentence now more than I did then. Back then, it slid right past me. After that, he started showing up more often. Not every day, just enough. He always spoke smoothly. He always had something kind to say. But under his kindness, there was a soft little edge, a hidden push. If I told Nia to eat before going out, he would grin and say, "Let her breathe a little, ma'am." If I asked what time she would be home, he would chuckle and say, "She's not 12." If I reminded her to save money, he would whisper something that made her laugh and roll her eyes at me. Small things, tiny things, but tiny things can still poison a well. Soon Nia started changing in ways that did not feel like growing up. They felt like drifting away. She became secretive with her phone. She smiled less at home and more at messages. She stopped asking for my opinion, then started acting annoyed when I gave it anyway. The first time she spoke to me with real disrespect, it was over something foolish. I asked where she had been. She said, "Why do you need to know everything?" That sentence sat in my mind for days, because it did not sound like her. Then came the clothes I had never seen before, the small gifts, the sudden need for money, the late returns, the tired eyes. I asked careful questions. She gave hard answers. And little by little, my daughter began looking at me like I was standing in the way of a life she had not even built yet. One afternoon, Mrs. Hart stopped me outside and said, "That young man asks strange questions." I turned to her. "What young man?" She lifted a brow. "The one always walking with Nia." I tried to sound calm. "What kind of questions?" Mrs. Hart leaned closer, lowering her voice even though no one was near. "Questions about who owns this house. Questions about how long you've lived here. Questions that are none of his business." I remember smiling politely and saying, "You may have misunderstood, but when I walked back inside that day, my hands were cold. And now, standing in my kitchen with Nia at the window and silence between us, I knew one thing clearly. The insult in the square had not come from nowhere. Something had been growing for weeks, maybe longer. And whatever happened at that shop today was only one piece of it. The next morning, Nia acted like nothing had happened. That was the hardest part. She came into the kitchen after I had already boiled water for tea. Her hair was tied back in a quick, messy knot. Her face looked tired, but she tried to hide it by moving fast. She opened the bread tin. She took a slice. She did not look at me. I stood by the stove and watched the steam rise. Usually I was the one who broke silence in this house. I asked if she slept well. I asked if she wanted eggs. I asked if she needed money for transport. That morning, I said nothing. After a while, she pulled out a chair and sat down. The chair legs scraped the floor. "Oh, Mama," she said at last. My hand paused over the cup. Not Mom, not Mother, not the cold little answers from the day before. "Mama." I turned slowly. "Yes?" She kept her eyes on the table. "I need your help with something." There it was. Not an apology, not the truth, a request. I walked over, set her tea in front of her, and sat across from her. "What kind of help?" "It's small," she said quickly. "Very small." I waited. She licked her lips. "Eli knows someone who can help me get into a better apartment deal. Nothing big. It's just There's a paper they need. What paper? She looked up then, and for 1 second I saw fear in her eyes before she covered it with irritation. It's nothing serious. Nia, she let out a breath. It's just a house paper, a copy, to show family address history. That's all. My body went still. A house paper. So Mrs. Hart had not imagined those strange questions after all. I kept my face calm. Why would anyone need my house paper for your apartment? It's not your house paper, she said too fast. It's just proof of residence, a family thing. That is still connected to this house. She pushed her tea away without drinking it. You always make everything hard. No, I said softly. I make sure I understand before I agree. Her jaw tightened. I could almost see the anger rising in her again, but this time it looked weaker, less like fire, more like panic. It's just a copy, she said. You're acting like I asked you to hand over the whole house. I folded my hands in my lap. Did Eli tell you to say that? Her head snapped up. Why do you always do this? Do what? Make him the bad person in every story. I looked at her for a long moment, because he keeps showing up in the middle of things that should not concern him. She stood up so suddenly the chair legs screeched again. Forget it! But I didn't move. I had learned something important in the last 2 days. If I reacted to the noise, I would miss the truth hiding under it. So I only asked, did he tell you this would help your future? She didn't answer. That was answer enough. A knock came at the door before either of us could say more. Nia froze. I turned my head toward the sound, and even before I opened the door, I knew who it was. Eli stood outside in a light shirt and a smile that came too easily for a man showing up uninvited in the morning. Good morning, Mom, he said. Or he said it so smoothly, like the square, the insult, and the mess at the shop had all happened to other people. I opened the door only halfway. Good morning. He gave Nia a quick look over my shoulder. It was short, but I caught it. A checking look, a measuring look, as if he wanted to see whether she had done her job. I hope I'm not disturbing you, he said. You are early. He laughed softly. I just came to help clear up a small misunderstanding. He held up a brown envelope. My eyes dropped to it at once. There are some forms, he said. Nothing complicated. We just need one signature and one document copy. It will make something easier for Nia. There it was again. We just need. We will make it easier. Like he had tied himself to my daughter's choices so tightly that she could not tell where she ended and he began. I stepped outside and pulled the door behind me, leaving only a narrow gap. I did not want him in my house. Let me see it. He handed me the envelope. I did not open it right away. I looked at him first. He smiled, but his eyes were not smiling. Why do you need my signature? I asked. It's just a supporting family signature. For what? For an application. What application? His smile thinned just a little. Housing? For her? Yeah. Why would my signature be needed for her private housing application? He shifted his weight. Very small, but I saw it. It's just a normal step, he said. Then you should be able to explain it clearly. His voice stayed polite, but it grew cooler. Ma'am, with respect, sometimes paperwork sounds more serious than it is. And sometimes serious things hide inside paperwork. For the first time, he stopped smiling. Behind the door, I heard movement. Nia was listening. Eli lowered his voice. I think you may be making this harder for Nia than it needs to be. And I think you are asking for too much too fast. He took a breath through his nose, like he was trying not to show anger. Then he switched back to charm. I care about her, he said. I'm trying to help her stand on her own feet. I looked straight at him. Then help her without using my house. That landed. His face did not change much, but something cold flashed behind his eyes. He reached for the envelope. Maybe you should read it first. I will, I said, holding on to it. He paused, then let go. I'll come back later, he said. No, I replied. If I have questions, I will ask them myself. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Then he nodded once, too sharply, and turned away. I watched him leave the gate, walk down the road and pull out his phone before he even reached the corner. When I stepped back inside, Nia was standing in the middle of the room. You embarrassed him, she said. I stared at her. He came to my door asking for my signature. He was only trying to help. Then why didn't he explain it properly? Her eyes filled with anger again, but underneath it I saw something else now. Confusion, maybe even doubt. She crossed her arms. You think everyone is trying to cheat you. No, I said. Only the people who get nervous when simple questions are asked. She looked away. I took the envelope to the table and opened it carefully. There were 2 printed forms inside. One had small writing packed tightly across the page. The other had blank spaces waiting to be filled. At the bottom of one page was a line for a property holder's signature. Property holder, not parent, not support. Property holder. My stomach turned cold. Nia stepped closer. What does it say? I did not answer at once. I kept reading, slowly making sure my eyes were not tricking me. Then I placed my finger on the line and looked up at her. This is not for your future apartment, I said quietly. This is tied to this house. The colour left her face. For the first time since the square, she looked less angry than afraid. And in that moment, I made my choice. I would not fight him with guessing. I would not fight him with shouting. I would find out exactly what he was trying to do. I did not tell Nia everything I was thinking. I knew if I pushed too hard, she would shut down again. So I folded the papers, slid them back into the envelope and said only, no one signs anything today. Nia stood very still. Then she asked in a small voice, what if it really is for me? I looked at her gently. Then it will still be there tomorrow. Honest things do not need rushing. She said nothing after that. The rest of the morning moved slowly. I swept the front step. I washed 2 plates that were already clean. I watered the small plant near the window. Nia stayed in her room for a long time. Once I heard her walking back and forth. Once I heard her phone ring and stop. Around noon she came out dressed to leave. She did not meet my eyes. I'm going to town, she said. With Eli? Her hand tightened on her bag strap. Maybe. I wanted to say, do not go. I wanted to stand in front of the door. But daughters do not always listen when fear speaks louder than trust, so I stayed calm. Take your sweater, I said. She almost laughed, like she was too old to hear that. But then she saw my face and stopped. She picked up the sweater from the chair. That was all. After she left, I took the envelope and read the forms again, slower this time. The words were tricky, made to sound simple when they were not. I did not understand every line, but I understood enough. It had to do with this house. That much was clear. I slipped the papers into my handbag and locked the front door. There was one person I trusted to help me ask careful questions without spreading gossip all over town. Officer Grant. He worked with community matters and small housing disputes sometimes. He was not loud. He was not the type to turn everything into a police drama. He listened first. I found him at the small office near the Market Road. He looked up when I stepped in. "Mrs. Rose, are you all right?" I gave a tired smile. "I'm trying to be." He offered me a chair and I sat down across from him. "I need help understanding something," I said, taking out the envelope. He opened it, read the forms, then read them again. The deeper he went, the quieter he became. Finally, he looked up. "Did someone ask you to sign this today?" "Yes." "Did they explain it honestly?" "No." He tapped one finger on the page. "A good thing you didn't sign." A cold feeling moved through me. "What is it?" He chose his words carefully. "It looks like part of a transfer support file, not a full sale paper on its own, but it could help someone make a claim or create the appearance of permission." My stomach dropped. "So I was right." "Yes," he said. "You were right to question it." I looked down at my hands. They had started shaking again, not from weakness, from anger this time. Officer Grant leaned forward a little. "Do not give these back yet, and do not sign anything else. If someone pushes, tell them you had the papers checked." I nodded. Then my phone rang. Nia. I answered right away. "Hello?" At first I heard only breathing. Then Nia's voice came tight and shaky. "Mama?" I stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. What happened? She swallowed hard. I could hear noise around her, car sounds, voices, a door closing somewhere close by. "I'm at Palmer's Beauty and Gifts," she whispered. "Please come." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Are you hurt?" "No, but..." Her voice cracked. "Please just come now." The line went dead. I was already moving. Officer Grant stood too. "What is it?" "It's my daughter." He took his jacket from the back of his chair. "I'm coming." We stepped out into the hot afternoon, and I walked faster than I should have. The shop was not very far, but every second felt long and heavy. As we got closer, I saw a knot of people near the entrance. Not a huge crowd, just enough to make trouble feel bigger. Palmer's Beauty and Gifts had bright bottles and shiny bracelets in the front window. And Lena worked there after school and on weekends. She was standing in the doorway now, looking worried. When she saw me, she hurried forward. "Mom, thank God." "What happened?" I asked. Lena lowered her voice. "A woman said Nia tried to leave without paying for perfume. Nia says she didn't. She says Eli handed her the bag and told her to wait outside. Then he disappeared." My mouth went dry. Officer Grant stepped closer, but stayed calm. "Where is the store owner?" "Inside," Lena said, trying not to let it get worse. I pushed through the doorway. Nia was standing near the counter, pale and stiff. Her eyes were red, but she had not cried yet. On the glass counter sat a small shopping bag with a bottle of perfume, a bracelet, and 2 makeup items inside. A woman I did not know stood with her arms folded. "Ah, that's the girl," she said at once. "She walked out with the bag." Nia looked at me then, and all the pride from the town square was gone. "Mama, I didn't steal anything," she said. "He gave it to me. He said he already paid." I believed her the moment I saw her face, not because she was my daughter, because fear looks one way and guilt looks another. I had known her whole life. This was fear. The store owner, Mr. Palmer, came from behind the counter. "Let's keep this calm," he said. "We're checking what happened." Officer Grant stepped in quietly. "Good. Let's stick to facts." The woman who accused Nia pointed at the bag. "Facts? The fact is, she was outside the door with unpaid goods." Nia's hands shook. "Because Eli told me to wait there." "Where is he now?" Officer Grant asked. That was the question sitting in all our minds. Nia looked toward the street through the front window. "He said he was coming right back," she whispered. But he hadn't. Of course he hadn't. I walked to my daughter slowly. Everyone was watching. This was the same kind of public moment as before. The same hot eyes, the same whispers, the same shame waiting in the air. An hour earlier she had thrown cruel words at me in front of strangers. Now she stood in front of those strangers with fear all over her face. I could have let her stand there alone. I could have stepped back and said, "This is your mess." Instead, I moved beside her. Then I placed one steady hand over hers on the counter and said, clear enough for everyone to hear, "My daughter is not standing here alone." My daughter is not standing here alone. The shop went quiet after I said that. Not fully quiet. I could still hear the hum of the small fridge near the back and the sound of a car passing outside. But the loudness of blame dropped. The whispers grew softer. Nia looked at me like she did not understand why I was beside her. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought I would step away after what she had said in the square. But a mother's pain and a mother's duty are not the same thing. Officer Grant moved closer to the counter. "Let us keep this simple," he said. "No shouting, no guessing. We check what happened, then we speak." Mr. Palmer nodded. "That is fair." The woman who had accused Nia folded her arms tighter. "I know what I saw." Officer Grant gave her a calm look. "And we will hear it, but we will hear everything." Nia's fingers were ice cold under my hand, and I squeezed them once. "Tell the truth from the beginning," I said quietly. She swallowed. "Eli and I came in together. He picked up the perfume and the bracelet. I told him I didn't need them. He laughed and said, 'Relax, it's handled.' Then he asked me to wait by the door while he sorted something out at the counter. A minute later he came to me, gave me the bag, and said he had paid." "Did you see him pay?" Officer Grant asked. Nia shook her head. Her voice dropped. "No." The shame in that one word hurt me. Mr. Palmer turned to Lena. "Did you see the young man at the counter?" Lena thought for a moment. "I saw him near the display first, then he moved this way, but Mrs. Cole was asking me about hair cream, so I was not watching every second." Officer Grant asked, "Was there any register record for these items, Mr. Palmer checked. His face grew more serious. "No payment." The woman near the door lifted her chin at once, ready to feel right. But Officer Grant raised one hand before she could speak. "No payment does not prove intent yet," he said. Not if another person was involved. I saw Nia close her eyes for 1 second. She had expected to be crushed. That much was clear. Then Lena spoke again, slowly this time. Sir, I remember something else. All heads turned toward her. She looked at Nia, then at me, then back to Officer Grant. This is not the first time I've seen that man here. Nia's eyes opened. What? Lena nodded. Not with you. Alone. The room seemed to tighten around that sentence. Officer Grant said, When? Twice before, maybe 3 times. He came in, looked around, asked questions, and then left without buying much. What kind of questions? I asked. Lena frowned as she tried to remember. About who owns which shops on this street, about whether old houses get sold, about who lives alone. Strange questions. A chill ran through me. The same kind of questions Mrs. Hart had mentioned. Officer Grant noticed the change in my face. You've heard this before. I nodded slowly. A neighbor told me he had asked questions about my house too. Nia turned to look at me, really look at me. Why didn't you tell me? I met her eyes. Would you have listened? Her mouth parted, but no answer came. That silence hurt, but it also told the truth. Mr. Palmer rubbed his chin. If this young man has been testing people, then this may not be a simple mistake. Officer Grant gave a small nod. It may not. The woman by the door finally uncrossed her arms. She still looked doubtful but less sharp than before. So you think he used her? No one answered right away, because the answer was already there, hanging in the room. Nia stepped back from the counter like the floor had changed under her feet. No, she whispered. No, he wouldn't do that. But even as she said it, her voice sounded weak. She was trying to hold on to a picture that was tearing in her hands. Officer Grant asked Mr. Palmer if there was any camera near the front. There was one. Not perfect. Not close enough to show every movement, but enough maybe to show Eli handing the bag to Nia and leaving. While Mr. Palmer went to check, I turned to my daughter. She was breathing too fast. Sit down, I told her. I'm fine. You are shaking. That made her stop. She looked down at her hands and seemed surprised to see that I was right. Lena pulled a chair from behind the counter and Nia sat without arguing. That frightened me more than tears would have. A quiet Nia meant a frightened Nia. Officer Grant stepped aside and took a short call. I heard only pieces. Yes, young man. Possible misuse. No, not charging yet. Checking facts first. When he returned, Mr. Palmer came back too. The camera does show him giving her the bag near the door, he said. Then he walks out the other side. Nia stared up at him. So you believe me? Mr. Palmer's face softened. I believe you were set up. Those words broke something in her. Not loudly, no sob, no scream. Just a slow, crushed look on her face, and like she had finally touched the truth and found it cold. I sat beside her and kept my voice low. Listen to me. Being fooled is painful, but staying blind after seeing proof is worse. Her eyes filled with tears. I made you stand alone. My throat tightened. This was the first true thing she had said to me since the square. Before I could answer, the bell above the shop door gave a quick jingle. Mrs. Hart walked in. Of course she did. She looked around, took in the faces, then said, "I knew that boy was trouble." Normally those words would have annoyed me. This time, I needed them. Officer Grant faced her. "Do you know something useful?" She lifted her chin. "Yesterday afternoon, I saw him near the side road, talking to a man in a grey cap. They were standing by a car. I heard your daughter's name, and I heard this house mentioned too." My heart beat harder. Nia looked up slowly. "My house?" Mrs. Hart nodded. "Yes, and not in a loving way." The room went still again. Nia wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "What did he say?" Mrs. Hart's voice lost some of its usual gossiping edge. "I didn't hear every word, but I heard enough to know he was planning something. He said, 'Once the paper is signed, it gets easier.'" Nia made a soft sound then, not a full cry, just the sound a person makes when the truth cuts deeper than they were ready for. And for the first time since Eli came into our lives, my daughter stopped defending him. For a long moment, Nia did not move. She sat on that chair in the shop with her hands in her lap and tears shining in her eyes, but she did not wipe them this time. And it was like all the noise inside her had suddenly gone quiet. Not peaceful quiet, the kind of quiet that comes when something breaks. Mrs. Hart stood with one hand on her hip, still breathing hard from the walkover. Lena stayed near the counter, watching Nia with worried eyes. Mr. Palmer looked uncomfortable, like he wished none of this had happened inside his shop. Officer Grant stayed calm, but I could see from his face that he was putting every small detail together. Nia looked at me slowly. "You knew," she said. I shook my head. "Not everything, but you knew something was wrong." "Yes." She dropped her gaze again. "And I still chose him." There was no pride left in her voice now, only shame. I sat beside her and answered gently. "Sometimes people do not see danger when it smiles first." That made her mouth tremble. For a second, I thought she might lean into me the way she used to when she was little and scared of bad dreams. But she stopped herself and pressed both hands together instead. Officer Grant took out his phone. "Nia, do you still have his messages?" She nodded. "Good. Do not delete anything." He spoke in the same calm tone he always used, but every word felt important. "Also," he said, "do not warn him. If he calls, answer only if you feel steady enough. If he writes, keep it. Facts matter." Nia gave a small nod. Then almost at once, her phone vibrated in her bag. Everyone heard it. She froze. My own heart tightened, but I kept my face still. Officer Grant said, "You don't have to answer." Nia reached into her bag with shaking fingers and looked at the screen. Her face changed the moment she saw the name. "It's him," she whispered. No one in that shop spoke. It felt like the whole room held its breath. Nia looked at me, and for the first time in a long while, she looked not angry, not proud, but young. What do I do? I could have told her to hang up. I could have taken the phone from her. But some truths people must hear with their own ears. So I said, "Put it on speaker." Her fingers trembled so badly she almost dropped the phone, but she managed it. Then she answered, "Hello?" Eli's voice came warm and easy, like the day had been perfectly normal. "Hey," he said, "why did you leave the spot I told you to wait?" Nia stared at the phone. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What happened?" That alone told its own story. Her voice came out thin. "There was a problem at the shop." A small pause. Then Eli sighed. You should have just stayed calm. You make things messy when you panic." I felt Nia go stiff beside me. Officer Grant's face did not move, but I saw his eyes sharpen. Nia swallowed. "You told me you paid." Another pause, this one longer. Then Eli gave a short laugh. "Why are you saying it like that?" "Because they said nothing was paid for." He clicked his tongue, annoyed now. "Nia, listen to me. Don't say too much to anyone. Just leave it alone." Leave it alone. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I'll come explain." Not "I'll fix this." Just leave it alone. Nia's eyes filled again, but this time she did not look at me. She kept staring at the phone like she was finally seeing the person behind the voice. "My mother is here," she said softly. The change in Eli was instant. His tone became careful. "Oh, is she making drama again?" That sentence landed in the room like dirt thrown on clean cloth. I did not speak. I did not need to. Nia's face twisted, not with anger this time, but hurt. "She stood by me," she said. Eli gave another little pause, then said something worse. "Fine. Then ask her if she signed the paper yet." Everything inside me went cold. Not, "Are you safe?" Not, "Did they accuse you?" Not, "I'm coming." The paper. Only the paper. Nia let out a small broken sound, and then, at last, the truth became too clear to hide from. Her voice shook. "Is that all you care about?" Eli did not answer right away. When he did, the softness was gone. "Don't start acting emotional now. We had a plan." Plan. I watched the words hit my daughter one by one. Nia's lips parted. "A plan?" He exhaled hard. "Forget it. I just don't let your mother ruin this." That was when Nia ended the call. She did not slam the phone down. She did not scream. She just lowered it slowly into her lap and sat there like someone who had been standing on weak ground without knowing it. The room stayed silent. Even Mrs. Hart had nothing to say. After a while, Nia whispered, "He never came back for me." No one answered, because there was nothing to argue with. She looked at me then, and I saw my child again, not the sharp girl from the square, not the proud girl trying to impress a man, but the daughter I had carried, fed, taught, and worried over for years. "I was so cruel to you," she said. My throat tightened. Yes, she had been cruel. Yes, her words had cut me in front of strangers. Yes, part of me was still standing in that square, hearing, "I wish you were never my mother." But the girl beside me was hurting too. And pain does not heal when two people use it like a weapon. So I took a slow breath and said the truest thing I could. "You hurt me deeply." A tear slid down her cheek. "I know." I nodded. "And still, when you called, I came." That made her bend forward like the weight of those words was too much for her shoulders. She covered her face and cried then, not loudly, not for a show, just real crying, the kind that makes a person smaller before it lets them breathe again. I placed my hand on her back and let her cry. I did not rush her. I did not say I told you so. Officer Grant gave us a respectful distance. Lena looked away to give Nia privacy. Even Mr. Palmer quietly moved to the other end of the counter. After some time, Nia sat up again and wiped her face. I thought you were trying to control me, she said, her voice thick. But you were trying to protect me. I looked at her carefully. Protection can feel strict when someone else is whispering in your ear. She nodded once. Then she said something that hurt and healed at the same time. He made me feel ashamed of this house, of you, of everything simple. I glanced around the shop window at the street outside, then back at her. There is no shame in simple things, I said, only in dishonest hearts. Nia breathed in slowly, as if she was trying to make room inside herself for a new truth. Officer Grant stepped closer again. Nia, I'll need a full statement later. Not now if you're too tired. But soon, she nodded. I'll do it. That mattered, not because it fixed everything, but because it was the first step she had chosen for herself all day. When we finally left the shop, the sun had begun to lower. The light on the road looked softer now. The same town that had watched her insult me was still there. The same people, the same corners, the same eyes, but this time, Nia did not walk ahead of me. She walked beside me. Halfway home, the wind picked up, and she pulled the sweater tighter around herself. After a while, she said quietly, Mama? Yes? She kept looking forward. I don't know how to fix everything yet. I answered just as quietly. Then start by telling the truth. After that, we take one step at a time. She nodded, and for the first time in many weeks, she did not argue. That night, our house felt different, not lighter, not happy, but honest. Nia sat at the table with a cup of tea she barely touched. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and every few minutes she rubbed her hands together like she was still cold inside. I sat across from her, quiet, giving her room to speak when she was ready. For once, she did not reach for her phone. She did not check for messages. She did not defend him. The silence between us was no longer angry. It was heavy, but real. And real things can be mended. After a long while, Nia took a shaky breath and said, I need to tell you everything. I nodded. Tell me. So she did. She told me how Eli had started slowly, first with sweet words, then with little jokes about me, then with comments about our house, our life, our small way of living. He made her feel like she had to choose between being loyal to me and becoming someone bigger. Is someone more important? He told her I was holding her back. He told her that people like me did not understand how the world worked. Then came the promises. A better apartment. A better circle of friends. A better future. A faster life. All she had to do, he said, was trust him. As Nia spoke, I could hear the trap more clearly. It was not built in one day. It was built line by line, lie by lie, until my daughter started hearing his voice even when he was not there. I thought if I agreed with him, he would love me more, she said. That sentence broke my heart in a quiet way, because so many bad choices begin there. Wanting to be chosen, wanting to be enough. I reached across the table and laid my hand over hers. A person who loves you does not ask you to betray your home. Nia lowered her head and started crying again. Softer this time. I know that now. The next morning we went with Officer Grant to give a full statement. Nia brought her phone. She showed him the messages. Some were sweet on the surface. But once you knew the truth, they sounded different. They sounded like pressure-wearing perfume. One message said, "Trust me, your mother will never know how to do this properly." Another said, "Don't overthink it. I just need that paper and then things can move." Another said, "Stop acting scared. This is how people get ahead." Officer Grant read them all carefully. Then he looked at Nia and said, "You did the right thing by keeping these." Mrs. Hart had also come in, dressed like she was going somewhere important, though I knew she mostly came because she wanted to witness the ending. This time, I did not mind. Sometimes even a gossiping neighbour can become useful when truth needs eyes and ears. Mr. Palmer shared the camera clip from the shop. It showed Eli handing the bag to Nia, then slipping away. It was not perfect, but it was enough. Enough to show a pattern. Enough to prove he was never trying to protect her. By noon, word had spread that Officer Grant wanted to speak to Eli. He came, of course, still dressed neatly, still smiling, still trying to look like the smartest person in every room. But charm is a weak shield once facts begin to speak. He walked into the office, saw me, saw Nia, saw Officer Grant, and the smile on his face changed. Not gone, just tighter. "What is all this?" he asked. Officer Grant stayed calm. "Sit down." Eli did not sit right away. He looked at Nia first. "You really did all this?" That was his first line. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I made a mistake." Just blame. Nia saw it too. I could tell by the way her shoulders straightened. Officer Grant placed the forms on the table. "You asked for a property holder's signature under false explanation." Eli gave a quick shrug. "It was just paperwork." Officer Grant placed the phone records beside it. "And you told her not to talk, then asked whether the paper had been signed before asking whether she was safe." Eli laughed once, but it sounded forced. "This is getting dramatic." "No," Nia said. Her voice was quiet, but strong. "This is getting honest." He turned to her, surprised. Maybe he thought she would still be the same girl from the square, the girl who wanted his approval more than her own peace. But she wasn't. He tried one more time. "Nia, you're confused. Your mother has filled your head with fear." Nia stood up. My heart beat faster, but I said nothing. This was her moment. She looked him straight in the eye and said, "No, you filled my head with shame. That was your trick. You made me feel embarrassed by the one person who never stopped loving me." The room went still. Even Eli had no quick answer to that. Nia's voice shook once, but she kept going. "You didn't love me. You wanted access to this house, to what belongs to my family, and when I was in trouble, you walked away." Eli opened his mouth, but Officer Grant lifted a hand. "That's enough." What happened next was not loud. No fighting, no wild drama, just consequences, plain and hard. Officer Grant told him clearly what had been reported, and what would follow if he kept pushing or returned to pressure Nia again. Mr. Palmer's record and the messages were kept. Mrs. Hart looked like she would remember every word for the next 10 years, and Eli, for the first time since I met him, looked small. He left without smiling. When the door closed behind him, Nia sat down again, and I saw the strength leave her all at once. Not because she was weak, because standing up after being fooled takes energy. We walked home slowly after that. The sky was pale and wide above us. The road looked ordinary. Children ran past. Someone watered a plant outside their gate. Life moved on, as it always does. At our front door, Nia stopped. "Mama," she said. I turned. Her eyes filled again, but she did not look away this time. I need to say this the right way. I waited. Then she said the words I think she had been carrying since the shop. "What I said to you in the square was cruel, it was ugly, and it was a lie. I said it to hurt you and to make myself look strong, in front of someone who did not deserve it. I am so sorry." My throat tightened. She took one more breath and went on. "There is no one like you. Even after I humiliated you, you still came for me. You stood next to me when I did not deserve it. I understand now. There is nothing like a mother." I cried then, not because I was weak, because sometimes a heart holds pain for so long that when healing finally comes, it comes out as tears. I opened my arms, and my daughter stepped into them, not as a child, not as a stranger, as my daughter. We stood there for a long moment in the doorway of the same house she had been taught to feel ashamed of. The same house that had fed her, sheltered her, and waited for her truth to return. When we finally stepped inside, the evening light was falling across the floor in long gold lines. Nia looked around the room differently now, not like she was trapped there, like she was seeing it for what it was. Home. Later, she picked up the family photo from the shelf and held it carefully. "I almost let a liar make me forget who really loves me," she said. I touched her shoulder. "You remembered in time." And that was enough for me, because love does not erase the wound in 1 minute, but truth opens the door for healing. So if this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, do you think Nia truly learned her lesson? And have you ever seen someone realize too late that a mother's love is one of the rarest gifts in this world?